Morning, Edna.
Morning, Rabbi.
Morning, Tina.
Good morning.
Cheryl, good morning. Which day is today? The
27.
7th. Okay. Okay, let's see where this takes us. Hi, Iris and Susan. I'm just getting.
Good morning.
Okay, good morning. Okay. Give it like one more minute. Were you able to open or to read what I sent you? We're going to do like a quick review. Okay, I will be back in a minute. Little smooth, I will get a coffee and we'll begin.
Iris, I listened to that recording you sent, but they talk about the 833 number, and they talk about.
I sent it to you.
Oh, you did? Okay, I haven't gone there.
Yeah.
All right, great.
While I was looking for Hillcrest, I saw your email, so I figured I'll answer you when I can. And then I finished answering emails and I still didn't get on. I'm like, okay, I'll go do something else.
Okay, great. I don't know how easy it will be to rescind, but we'll see.
Right. I should call a number though. I haven't done it yet. They say that it's better to call between 5 and 9 p.m.
Oh, okay.
Otherwise the wait could be very long.
I would imagine so. All right, good. I'll do that at dinner time. Well, I'm making dinner.
Thank you, Rana.
That's a good idea.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Good morning, Steve. How is Sela doing, Steve? I cannot hear
muted.
you. I cannot, but I assume that
You're
silence
muted.
is a good sign. Yes,
He
you are
started to
silent.
talk, but we didn't hear him.
Yes, yes. You are silent. You are muted, Steve.
She had the foot surgery a week ago, and it hurts, and it's difficult to get a comfortable position. So she's probably not going to be joining us today.
Okay, we send her our best, Steve.
Okay, thank you.
Hopefully, we won't lose too many people through this difficult Gemara, but the way to deal with the difficult Gemara is to move forward. So this is what we are going to do today. So in order for us to, I won't say to even to enjoy, but to understand a little better what we are learning, I like to do, I sent you 2 attachments and I like to talk briefly about them. The first one is Gzeira Shavah, which appear throughout our Talmudic learning and will appear everywhere. It's one of the most important hermeneutic tools, the ways that the rabbis use to interpret the Torah. So probably the best known is Kal Vachomer, which is a fortiori inference. You learn from is a logic, it works logically. If something applies to a particular situation, we'll apply more evident with the situation is heightened, when the situation is more evident. So for example, a case of fortiori or Homer, which we are going to learn today, or we are going to see that, is if someone gets death penalty for intercourse with a granddaughter, of course is going to get death penalty for a daughter. So this is a fortiori, it's a logic argument. Or if the daughter of his wife is included in the prohibition, his own daughter is also going to be included, even if we don't find a particular verse. Okay, so this is the logic. Gzeira Shava is not logic, but is based on, or is somehow logic, but not exactly, is based on learning the meaning of a particular law or word from one context to the other. So we do not know, for example, what the punishment will be for a particular, let's say, transgression, but we have the punishment in a different case. And in that particular case, a particular word that is not usually used is used, like the word zima, for example, lewdness. So appears from one context, we learn from the other context, okay? So this is Gzeira Shabbat. But we are going to learn today something that I didn't know, but I learned it also from here. And I am going just to read this note, okay? I'm not going to do everything about Gzeira Shabbat, but there is one part that I think is important. That is the last part of this entry in Steinsaltz's book, maybe 10 lines from the bottom. A controversy exists as to the extent of the conclusion that can be inferred through Gzeira Shabbat. The rabbis disagree on what is the extent of Gzeira Shabbat. According to one opinion, the rule is don mina umina, learn from it, or learn from it and from it, deduce from it and again from it. According to this view, the conclusion that can be drawn from Gzeira Shabbat extend even to items that were not explicitly included in the Gzeira Shabbat. In other words, it applies to in a broad way. Others, however, maintain that the rule is don mina ve'okei be'atra, deduce from it and leave it in its place. Non-conclusions can be drawn beyond those included in the original Gzeira Shabbat. So one is a more limited. You do the Gzeira Shabbat and you leave it in its context, and the other is a little broader. We are going to see how in the Talmud is going to explain it. So this is the first thing I wanted to know about the Gzeira Shabbat at this point, okay? But I encourage you to read it. The entry completely is going to come handy. The other thing, which we are not going to read it, but I really like to invite you to read it, is and we did study that on 49b, is the discussion of the 4 types of death penalty. Not the description, but the order of severity. And is going to appear again in our learning today. There is a difference of opinion between Chachamim, the rabbis, the sages, the collective, everybody else, and Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. The accepted halacha is that the order is the one from the rabbis, who are the majority, and they go in stoning, burning, decapitation, and strangulation. In Hebrew, it's called skila, streifa, hereg, vechenek. This is the order. We are calling to do it 1, 2, 3, 4. Rabbi Shimon says 2, 1, 4, 3. Rabbi Shimon says burning is the most severe. Has nothing to do with the pain. It's the way how they associate verse on the particular sins associated in the Torah with these punishments. So according to Rabbi Shimon, burning is the most severe of the punishment, then stoning. So he exchanges 1 and 2, and then strangulation 3, and then decapitation 4. This discussion, which I sent to you, gives the justification of the rabbis and the justifications of Rabbi Shimon. It's done in a very well and organized manner. Basically, first it starts with the rabbis. They said, why is strangulation more severe according to the rabbis than burning? Because then this is being challenged, and then the rabbis reply. That's the way it works. Then it goes strangulation against decapitation. The same thing. Why? Then it's being challenged, then the rabbis reply. Then stoning against the last one. Strangulation, again, the rabbis. Why? Is being challenged, and the rabbis reply. Okay? So basically it goes once against 2, once against 3, once against 4. 2 against 3, 2 against 4, 3 against 4. And the same model goes. The explanation, the challenge, and the refutation of the rabbis. And then after they do that, they do against Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Shimon, that these rabbis are not stupid, they have their own logic. So why is this logic? And we are going to see that it's all relative. Why someone considers that one thing is more severe than the other. Okay, so this is part of the logic that's going to happen here. We are going to encounter today both the two types of Gzeira Shabbat, the limited one and the broad one, and we are going to encounter the opinion of the rabbis and the opinion of Rabbi Shimon regarding the order of severity of the death penalties. Okay, remember that they have some information about some sins. For example, we know the Torah is very specific about some sins, and in others, they are trying to figure it out through these methods of interpretation. So that's the first thing I want to say. The thing I want to say before we read is basically what we did so far. We learned in the Mishnah that the punishment of burning applies to the daughter of a Kohen who committed adultery, and then the Torah, the Mishnah says, Isha ubita, the daughter and a daughter and a mother. Sorry, a woman and a daughter. And then the Mishnah says, including in this woman and a daughter are many other women that are on the graphic on the right. The Mishnah, the Gemara first elaborates on the language, and then we have a long braita on page 174 that they learn why all these other cases are included in Isha Ubita, a woman and the daughter. Okay. Now we are on page 176, 3 paragraphs on the bottom, and the Gemara is going to start, is going to make, and this is what we are going to do today. The Gemara is going to say, if we have these cases, we should also apply to this case. And what's going to ensue is the challenge, why not? So I'm going just to read it, and then I will see if I can ask one of you to read. But 3 paragraphs on the bottom of page 176, based on that interpretation of the Braita, the Gemara asks, if so, why not say, just as the mother of his wife, his grandmother-in-law, is forbidden to him, so too the mother of his mother is forbidden to him, and say that he would be liable to be executed by burning. Okay? So this is the question that will occupy us for a little while. The Gemara asks a very, I would say, logic question. If the grandmother-in-law is punishable, if a relationship with the grandmother-in-law is punishable by burning, so too, let's say, the grandmother. The problem is that we know that there is no death penalty for relationships with the mother. So the Gemara is going to address this, and it's going to show why not. Okay? we read the note on the top of page 177, why our logic that will make us think that the grandmother is more severe than the grandmother-in-law doesn't work, okay? But I'm not going to read it again, but you have it there on the top right. Now we're going to try to understand the text. And let me ask you, Cheryl, please to read slowly. I may interrupt you to explain some of the things there. So page 176, start again where I started.
Based on that interpretation of the Baraita, the Gemara asks, if so, why not say, just as the mother of his wife is forbidden to him, so too the mother of his mother is forbidden to him, and say that he would be liable to be executed by burning? Abaye says that is not possible, that one is liable to be burned for engaging in intercourse with the mother of his mother. As the verse states, the nakedness of your father and the nakedness of your mother you shall not expose. She is your mother, you shall not expose her nakedness. Infer from this, due to his intercourse with his mother, you deem him liable to be executed, but you do not deem him liable to be executed due to his intercourse with the mother of his mother.
Abaye has a very simple answer, and that is the Torah says, Imcha'i, she is your mother. Emphasize that she is your mother. That means you are punished for doing something with your mother and not your grandmother. Okay, so it says Imcha'i. Abaye says, simple answer, the text limits it. Now, I don't know why Rabbi, the next rabbi, is not going to like the simple answer, but he's going to give a complicated one. And now Rabbi, who is the opposite part of Abaye, is going to give a different answer, okay?
Rava says, both according to the one who says with regard to the method of derivation by means of a verbal analogy, infer the halakha from it, that is, from the source of the verbal analogy, and derive the details from it, that is, from that source. And according to the one who says, infer the halakha from it, but interpret the halakha according to its own place, that is, the derived halakha is subject to the principles that govern that which is derived by means of the verbal analogy. It is not derived that one is liable to be burned for engaging in intercourse with the mother of his mother.
Okay, I'm going just to summarize this. Rava says, remember that we talk about two ways of doing Exaira Shabbat. He says, even if you take one way or another, it doesn't work that one is punished by relationships with the grandmother. He's going to explain now, but this is the title. He says, it doesn't work, and I will tell you why. Look at the top note on the top left of page 176.
You want me to read it?
Yes, please.
Infer the halakha from it and derive the details from it, etc. According to the principle, infer the halakha from it, but interpret the halakha according to its own place. The general halakha with regard to which a verbal analogy is derived remains unchanged. The only change involves that detail or that matter that is derived by means of the verbal analogy. According to the principle, infer the halakha from it and derive the details from it. The matter with regard to which a verbal analogy is derived is identical to the source of that analogy, and all provisions that apply to the source apply to the matter with regard to which the verbal analogy is derived.
In other ways, are you going to take everything or are you going to take just the limited part? Okay, so Rava says, either way, it doesn't work. And I now am going to explain to you why, and this is on page 177, okay?
Should I read?
Yes, slowly.
The Gemara elaborates. According to the one who says, infer the halakha from it and derive the details from it, one might infer, just as with regard to relatives of his wife, the mother of his mother is forbidden to him. So too, with regard to his relatives, the mother of his mother is forbidden to him, and derive again from it, just as with regard to relatives of his wife, he is liable to be executed by burning due to his intercourse with the mother of her mother. So too, with regard to his relatives, he is also liable to be executed by burning due to his intercourse with the mother of his mother.
So we compare both sides, her side and his side. Her side, we already learned that is by burning. His side should be also by burning. The Gemara proceeds, continue.
To explain why one cannot derive that one is liable to be burned for engaging in intercourse with the mother of his mother. According to the one who says execution by burning is more severe than execution by stoning,
i.e. Rabbi Shimon, yes.
the inference from the halacha of relatives of his wife can be refuted as follows. What is notable about her relatives, where he is liable to be burned for engaging in intercourse with the mother of her mother? They are notable in that one who engages in intercourse with the mother of his wife is liable to be executed by the more severe punishment of burning, not the less severe, more common punishment of stoning. Will you then say that the same halakha should apply with regard to his relatives, where one who engages in intercourse with his mother is liable to be executed by the less severe punishment of stoning?
So in other words, according to Rabbi Shimon, stoning is less severe, and therefore you cannot compare one that is more severe, the case which is unique on her side, which is burning, to the case of his side, which is stoning. Because if you were to do the Gzeirah Shabbat the way it was suggested, then you will need to conclude that the grandmother also goes with burning, because we are comparing her side and his side. But it doesn't work because his own mother has the less severe punishment of stoning according to Rabbi Shimon. Now, of course, it's going to create a problem when you reverse with the other opinion, but we are going to see what they do, okay? And furthermore,
as one who engages in intercourse with his mother is executed by the less severe punishment of stoning, is it possible that one who engages in intercourse with the mother of his mother, a more distant relative, is executed by the more severe punishment of burning?
Okay, so this is a reverse Kal Vachomer. It doesn't work according to the one who considers stoning to be less severe. That's the first scenario they are putting right now, okay? So remember, I'm just giving you the map, what's going to happen. We have two different types of Gzeirah Shabbat with two different levels of severity, Rabbi Shimon and the Rabbi. So we are going to expect 4 different combinations. So now we are talking number 1, okay? Is the first approach to Gzeirah Shabbat with Rabbi Shimon. And I still are giving some reasons. And furthermore,
just as with regard to her relatives, you did not distinguish between her mother and the mother of her mother, and one who engages in intercourse with either is executed by burning, so too with regard to his relatives, you should not distinguish between his mother and the mother of his mother. Since one who engages in intercourse with his mother is punished by stoning, not burning, it follows that one who engages in intercourse with the mother of his mother is punished by stoning, not burning.
So that's why the Gzeirah Shabbat doesn't work in this scenario. For those who take the first approach of the Gzeirah Shabbat and those who believe that burning is more severe. But now he needs to prove for all the others. So let's continue. And according
to the one who says that stoning is more severe than burning, although the first 2 refutations of the derivation based on the fact that execution by burning is more severe are not relevant.
Because in this case, the mother is more severe than the grandmother, so it's not relevant.
Due to this third difficulty, this halakha is not derived. Just as with regard to her relatives, you did not distinguish between her mother and the mother of her mother, so too, with regard to his relatives, you should not distinguish between his mother and the mother of his mother.
Okay. So,
and
we're going to breathe a little. Here, this ends the first of the 4 scenarios I told you. Sorry. These are 2 scenarios, 2 of the 4. The first approach to Gzeirah Shabbat with the opinion of Rabbi Shimon and the opinion of the rabbis. Both of these opinions, the Gzeirah Shabbat doesn't work. Either if you believe that burning is more complicated, more severe, or stoning. Okay, and this is the first part that they prove, according to the one who says infer the halakha from it and derive the details from it. Now, continue. Yeah.
And according to the one who says, infer the halakha from it, but interpret the halakha according to its own place, one might infer, just as with regard to relatives of his wife, the mother of her mother is forbidden to him, so too with regard to his relatives, the mother of his mother is forbidden to him. And interpret the halakha according to its own place. It is there, with regard to the relatives of his wife, that one who engages in intercourse with the mother of her mother is executed by burning. But here, with regard to his relatives, one who engages in intercourse with the mother of his mother is executed by stoning, as we found that this is the punishment with regard to one who engages in intercourse with his mother.
I am going to explain now. This is a good example to explain what are the two methods of the Zeirah Shabbat. The first one means you compare everything. So you compare the cases and you compare the punishment. One punishment is burning, and then they bring it to the other and also should be burning. And that's why some of the problems that were demonstrated come here. But the second method of Zeirah Shabbat is a little more benign. It says you can compare the cases, but you don't have to compare the punishment. Each case is within its own context. So you do compare, you use the Zeirah Shabbat, but it's a limited Zeirah Shabbat. You don't have to extrapolate everything. So you can, I'm going just to read again what just this part that Cheryl read. Just as with regard to relatives of his wife, the mother of her mother is forbidden to him, so too with regard to his relatives, the mother of his mother is forbidden to him. So that's the comparison, that's the Zeirah Shabbat, okay? And interpret the halakha according to its own place, i.e. you don't have to use the same punishment. It is there with regard to the relatives of his wife that one who engages in intercourse is executed by burning. But here, with regard to his relatives, is stoning. So maybe here it will work, the Zeirah Shabbat. But now the rabbi is going to explain why it doesn't work in this case either. Okay, please continue.
The Gemara explains why the derivation with regard to the prohibition is not valid. According to the one who says that execution by burning is more severe than execution by stoning, the derivation can be refuted. What is notable about her relatives? They are notable in that one who engages in intercourse with the mother of his wife is liable to be executed by the more severe punishment of burning. Will you then say that there is a prohibition with regard to his relatives, where one who engages in intercourse with his mother is liable to be executed by the less severe punishment of stoning? And furthermore, one must say that the status of his relatives is like the status of her relatives. And just as with regard to her relatives, you did not distinguish between her daughter and the mother of her mother, and one who engages in intercourse with either is executed by burning, so too, with regard to his relatives, you should not distinguish between his daughter and the mother of his mother, and he should receive the same punishment for engaging in intercourse with either. Since one who engages in intercourse with the mother of his mother is executed by stoning, and one who engages in intercourse with his daughter is executed by burning, the parallel between his relatives and her relatives is incomplete, and the prohibition cannot be derived.
Okay, so we have two reasons by Rabbi why it doesn't work, okay? And we have the last one, Uleman.
The Gemara continues, and according to the one who says that stoning is more severe than burning, due to this third difficulty, the fact that intercourse with the mother of his mother is forbidden, this halakha is not derived, as the parallel between his relatives and her relatives is incomplete.
You cannot take the first case, the top of the reasons, but you can take the second, that it doesn't work. So that part completes the explanation why you cannot use Zeirah Shabbat to condemn a relationship with one's own grandmother to burning, because it doesn't work. Either way you can look at it, either if you take the limited Zeirah Shabbat or the broad Zeirah Shabbat, either if you go that burning is more severe or the stoning is more severe, any of the four combinations doesn't work, and therefore you cannot use the Zeirah Shabbat. So both Abaye and Rava demonstrated that the grandmother on his own side, his own grandmother is not included in the prohibition. Okay, I am going to breathe here. Okay, now any question? It's a difficult text, but I think we are making progress because already have some tools. We have the general picture of what is forbidden. Now what they are trying to prove is, can we extend the prohibition to other cases? And that's what they are going to do it right now as well. Okay, so Cheryl, I'm going to ask you to continue reading. And now they're going to bring another case, and let's go with it. Just the next paragraph. Okay.
The Gemara asks, if a parallel is drawn between his relatives and the relatives of his wife with regard to the prohibition, just as with regard to his relatives, his daughter-in-law is forbidden to him, so too with regard to her relatives, her daughter-in-law is prohibited to him.
Okay, so now they want to take it to another case. Let me just read it again. Just as with regard to his relative, his daughter-in-law is forbidden to him, that is his daughter-in-law, and the punishment, by the way, is stoning there. So too with regard to her relatives, her daughter-in-law is prohibited to him. Okay, so that is a question because her daughter-in-law, what is her daughter-in-law? I try to remember the relationship. Her daughter-in-law.
Son's wife.
She has a
Son's
son.
wife.
What?
She has a son, and her son from previous marriage, and her son is married to a woman. She's now married to this new husband, and that's
Yes.
her
Yes.
in-law.
The
So this
second wife.
is again,
son-in-law.
the daughter, her daughter-in-law. Her daughter-in-law, if you see the little picture on page 173, when you see his wife, so the ones that are forbidden is the wife's daughter and the wife's son, but not the wife's.
Doesn't show the wife's daughter-in-law.
Yes, so the wife's daughter-in-law is not forbidden to him. Okay. Now, again, the wife's daughter-in-law is forbidden to him while she is married to the son, to her son. It's forbidden because of adultery.
Right.
But the question is, once they divorce or once he died, it's not forbidden. The daughter-in-law is forbidden always, his own daughter-in-law. So the Gemara here is asking, if we are working on the parallel between her side and his side, so why do not make the prohibition for his daughter-in-law, make her also for her daughter-in-law? And now the explanation is going to explain why not.
Abaye says, that is not so, as the verse states, you shall not expose the nakedness of your daughter-in-law. She is your son's wife. You shall not expose her nakedness. Due to his intercourse with the wife of his son, you deem him liable to be executed, but you do not deem him liable to be executed due to his intercourse with the wife of the son of his wife.
Okay, Abaye again gives a simple answer, focuses on the language of the Torah. He says, Eshet bincha'i, the wife of your son. So it says the Gemara, Mishum Eshet bincha ata mechaybo, because of she's the daughter, the wife of your son, you are liable, but you are not liable for the wife of her son. Okay, so Abaye, I love Abaye. Abaye says, this is a simple answer. I focus on the language of the text. The language of the text limits the prohibition. Rava, again, doesn't like simple things, is going to go with a more elaborated answer. Okay?
Rava says, that derivation is unnecessary, as with regard to the method of derivation by means of a verbal analogy, both according to the one who says infer the halakha from it and derive the details from it, and according to the one who says infer the halakha from it, but interpret the halakha according to its own place. it is not derived that intercourse with one's wife's daughter-in-law renders him liable to be executed.
And you already know the game. He's going to do the same thing. He's going to take the 4 scenarios, the 2 methods of the Zeira Shabbat, the broad and the limited. He's going to take Rabbi Shimon and the rabbis, the order of severity. This is what we introduced today. And he's going to show in these 4 scenarios why the daughter-in-law of his wife is not forbidden to him. Okay, Sharon.
The Gemara elaborates. According to the one who says, infer the halacha from it and derive the details from it, one might infer, just as with regard to his relatives, his daughter-in-law is forbidden to him, so too with regard to her relatives, her daughter-in-law is forbidden to him, and derive again from it, just as with regard to his relatives, he is liable to be executed by stoning due to his intercourse with his daughter-in-law, so too with regard to her relatives, he is also liable to be executed by stoning due to his intercourse with her daughter-in-law.
So the first scenario is you take everything from the Gzeira Shabbat, both the prohibition and the punishment. And the punishment needs to be the same. Everything, this is the broad application. And now he's going to explain why it doesn't work. Please.
The Gemara proceeds to explain why this is not a valid derivation. According to the one who says execution by stoning is more severe than execution by burning, the inference can be refuted. What is notable about his relatives? They are notable in that one who engages in intercourse with his mother is liable to be executed by the more severe punishment of stoning. Will you then say that the same is true with regard to her relatives, where one who engages in intercourse with her mother is liable to be executed by the less severe punishment of burning? And furthermore, as one who engages in intercourse with the daughter of his wife is executed by the less severe punishment of burning, is it possible that one who engages in intercourse with the daughter-in-law of his wife, a more distant relative, is executed by the more severe punishment of stoning? The Gemara rejects this refutation. He himself, with regard to his own relatives, will prove that it is in fact possible, as one who engages in intercourse with his daughter is executed by burning, and one who engages in intercourse with his daughter-in-law is executed by stoning.
So they try a refutation. They write the case, and the same Gemara refutes it. It says this doesn't work because the logic doesn't work, because intercourse with his daughter-in-law is more severe than his own daughter. So that explanation doesn't work. Rather, let's continue.
Rather, just as with regard to his relatives, you did not distinguish between his mother and his daughter-in-law, and one who engages in intercourse with either is executed by stoning, so too with regard to her relatives, you should not distinguish between her mother and her daughter-in-law. Since one who engages in intercourse with the mother of his wife is executed by stoning, apparently one who engages in intercourse with his daughter-in-law is punished by burning, not stoning. Therefore, the parallel between his relatives and her relatives is incomplete, and the prohibition cannot be derived. And according to the one who says that burning is more severe than stoning, although the refutations based on the fact that execution by stoning is more severe are not relevant due to this difficulty, this halacha is not derived.
I need one more time the second paragraph. Cheryl, give me just 1 minute to try to understand it.
Should I read it?
Rather just give me, I will just read it myself, but you can keep me company. Rather, just as with regard to his relatives, he did not distinguish between his mother and his daughter-in-law, and they're both by stoning. So too, with regard to her relatives, you should not distinguish between her mother and her daughter-in-law. Since one who engaged in intercourse with the mother of his wife is executed by, this is a mistake, should be is executed by burning, not by stoning. The mother of his wife, are you with me or not?
Yeah, but if you engaging
in one who engages in intercourse with the mother of his wife is executed by burning, apparently one who engages in intercourse with her daughter-in-law.
But no. Stoning is correct because I think it is, because the mother-in-law it's less, it's not as gross with the mother-in-law as with
So,
one's
but
mother.
this is one we know the halakha already, that the mother-in-law is by burning, not? Apparently, one who engaged in intercourse with her daughter-in-law
Okay,
should be punished by burning, not by stoning. But if you are comparing, should be by stoning. Therefore, the parallel between Israel and Hillel is incomplete, and the provision cannot be derived. The problem is that since one who engaged in intercourse with the mother of his wife, this is one of the first things that we did, his mother-in-law, is executed by burning. That's, I think, is the mistake here. Apparently, one who engaged in intercourse with her daughter-in-law is punished by burning, not stoning. But we are trying to prove from the Gzeira Shabbat that is the same as his relatives, that is stoning. Therefore, the parallel is incomplete. Are you with me or not?
it's sort of. Is the Hebrew also, does the Hebrew include that?
למה הוא לא חלקת בו בין אמו לכלתו, אף היא לא תחלק בה בין אמה לכלתה. Yes, so, which is simple in Hebrew. Just as you didn't make a difference between his mother and his daughter-in-law, look at the first graphic on page 173, okay? Are the two in red? His mother and his daughter-in-law. You didn't make a difference. Both of them are stoning in red, mother and daughter-in-law. You should also not differentiate between his mother-in-law, the one in blue on the right, and the one that you want to make here, which is not in this graphic, her daughter-in-law. But you are trying to do a Gzeira Shabbat from his side, so she also should be stoning the same way as his side, but you cannot have different punishments. Okay, let me look at it again. The same way you did not differentiate between his mother and his daughter-in-law, so you should not differentiate between her mother and her daughter-in-law. But you are differentiating because you want to use the Gzeira Shabbat with stoning, and therefore the Gzeira Shabbat doesn't work, because you need to compare. You are taking all the details. Of course, now it's going to be different in the second half when you can do it within its own context. Okay, I just bear with me. I respect if you don't get it, because I need to read it many times until I understand. They're trying to show how Gzeira Shabbat doesn't work, because in this method, which is with, how do they call it, derives everything, dun mina umina, infer the halacha from it and derive the details from it. You need to derive all the details, and the details is that on his side the punishment is stoning, so you should also apply to her daughter-in-law stoning. But the problem is that you come to an inconsistency, because on his side there is no difference between mother and daughter-in-law, so also should not be a difference on her side between her mother and her daughter-in-law. The problem is that it is, because we already know that her mother-in-law, the punishment is burning, and now the Gzeira Shabbat will give us a stoning, and doesn't work. Okay, I'm going just to read it one more time. Since one who engages in intercourse with the mother of his wife is executed by burning, that's a mistake. Apparently, one who engages in intercourse with her daughter-in-law is punished by burning, not stoning. But we know that this is the Gzeira Shabbat. Therefore, the parallel between his relatives and his relatives is incomplete, and the prohibition cannot be derived, because according to this method of Gzeira Shabbat, you need to derive everything. So if you cannot derive everything and it's inconsistent, so you cannot do it. And according to the one who says that burning is more severe than stoning, although the first refutation on the top of the page doesn't work, the second one, we just read, it does work. I mean, it is a problem, still a problem, because there is an inconsistency and doesn't work. Okay. Oh. This is still burning according to the first method of Zeira Shabbat. Let's.
Rabbi,
Yes.
previously you had excerpts, I think Leviticus, showing the primary source of this. Is that correct? Where in the Torah it says the punishment for having intercourse with your son or whatever. I think it'd be useful if we see that again. The primary, where all this other stuff is derived from.
Okay. So let's go. We have very, very few verses, but let's go to page 171. We are going to be okay. We are doing, I know it's difficult, but we are getting there. So these are the verses that on the top that Steve, you are mentioning. You shall not uncover the nakedness of a woman and her daughter. You shall not take her son's daughter or her daughter's daughter to uncover her nakedness. They are near kin's women. It is lewdness. Gross, evil desire, depravity. The Hebrew is zima. From here, we have the prohibition, but not the punishment, Steve, okay? Okay. Let's continue the next one. The nakedness of your son's daughter or your daughter's daughter, their nakedness shall not be exposed, for there is your own nakedness. Another prohibition. And now we have a prohibition and the punishment. And if a man takes a woman and her mother, remember that's what we're talking, Isha ubita, it is lewdness. That's the word that they are going to use for the Shabbat. They shall be burned with the fire, both him and them. And there shall be no lewdness among you. So you have all the verses that you need here, which are very few. Only one verse talks about the punishment, which is the Leviticus 20:14, and they mention a woman and her mother. And that's why the first pages of this chapter, they try to extrapolate the woman and the mother to all the cases of the blue that we saw on the graphic. And they do it by means of Exeira Shabbat, comparing the word lewdness in both cases. Okay, especially the word lewdness in the first verse, okay, and lewdness in the third case. Okay, and then the other Exeira Shabbat, they do it by comparing two different words, hema and ema. Okay, Steve, does it help?
Well, I'm disappointed in that there's only one punishment given there in those verses.
No, okay. Steve, bear with me. We are now learning the punishment of burning in this chapter. We did stoning before, so many months before we did stoning, we did the daughter-in-law, we did the mother. I'm not going to do it now again, but we did that in the previous pages. So if you were to go to the verses on those pages,
well, I'm looking for the primary source in the Torah.
This is the primary source I gave you.
Well, this is one paragraph.
This is a paragraph about the burning. Then you have very few paragraphs about stoning. And that's what I'm trying to, they're not going to be in this chapter, but they're going to be in the other chapter. So I can try to find them very quickly.
Well, was it the same?
It's not in the same, they're, okay.
It's all of them on Leviticus, are they not?
Yes, but is.
So if we look in the Chumash, in Leviticus, we shall find the punishments near each other.
Yes, so I sent you, I sent you Leviticus. Let me just open it very quickly. Okay, Steve, but don't go now, okay? I'm going to open, so come back.
I have a question. You say
Yes.
that the rabbis say that stoning is the most severe,
Yes.
And Rabbi Shimon says that burning is the most severe. So why are we saying that burning should be for this?
Okay.
This
Okay.
That's
Don't go.
what I'm
Don't
asking.
go.
Where's the main source in the Torah?
Okay. 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 Iris. Yes. Okay. That's bear with me. I need to breathe. So there you are asking two different questions. So there are some sins that the rabbis did not find the punishment. That's what they are trying to associate. But very few that we know the punishment from the Torah. This is one that we read. And if a man takes a woman and her mother, it is lewdness, they shall be burned with fire. So you cannot change that. This already you know that's fire.
okay.
We know from another verse, which I need to find now, but I will, that for mother and daughter-in-law, the punishment is stoning. So we remember these games in the magazines when they give you, I love to use them, like you need to do, they give you some information and you need to find the rest of the pieces. You know what I'm talking about? They give you, like, you know, the one who doesn't like the fruits, like the one who doesn't like vanilla likes chocolate, but the ones who likes, so they, you know what I'm talking about? So they give you like 3 pieces of information and you need to complete the rest. This is basically what we are doing right now. So we have very few pieces of information in the text. We have the prohibitions. The prohibitions is easy. I would like to open it. I cannot find it right now, the Leviticus part. Let me see where I put it here, okay? I thought I sent it to you. But
Yeah, it's
no, I just try to find one that is marked because I have. Okay, don't go, Steve. Just stay with me. I found it. So I send it to you, but I am going just to see if I can read a few and then summarize. Okay.
Leviticus 20 has a lot of it in there.
What?
Leviticus 20.
Yes, I have it here. Look at me. I just have it here. I can send it to you. But
Well, I have the Chumash here right now looking at it.
so okay, so you have the Chumash. Okay, so in Leviticus 18, verse 6 says, none of you shall come near anyone of his own flesh to uncover nakedness. I am the Lord. And then they go the entire list in chapter 18. Okay. Okay, but it's no punishment. This is called the Azara. This is the prohibition. Then in chapter 20, okay, verse 10 says, if a man commits adultery with a married woman, committing adultery with another man's wife, the adulterer and adulterer shall be put to death. This we learn that is strangulation, motium 2, okay? Okay. If a man lies with his father's wife, that is his step mother, it is the nakedness of his father that he has uncovered. The two shall be put to death. Their blood guilt is upon them. From this expression, the blood guilt is upon them. The Mayem Bam, they learn that each time that appears the Mayem Bam, the punishment is stoning. We learn that, Steve. It's not.
I remember, but I don't remember the outcome. So
Okay.
guilt refers to.
Okay. If a man lies with his daughter-in-law, both of them shall be put to death. They have committed incest. Their blood guilt is upon them.
That's stoning.
Yes. Okay. Now, yes. So Now now I don't want to go again, but I promise you that they learn that the Mayem Bam, the punishment is with stoning. Okay, I will show you like a little chart here. Okay, but it's not. You don't have to believe me, but this is the chart that I sent to you if I find it. Okay.
Yeah, I remember that. It's,
So
I didn't print it out, but
So the only ones who get skila is stoning, is the betrothed woman, betrothed girl, Nara meorasa, imo ve'eshet aviv, his mother and his father's wife, and kalato, his daughter-in-law. These are the red ones that we saw in the little picture. And then zaharu beima, male and animals. These are skila. And they learn that, Steve, from these verses that I show you, okay? And we learn that when we learn stoning. I will try to find them and send it to you more information, okay? I promise.
What was kares again?
What?
Kares is cut off from the
Karet
community?
is spiritual punishment. Everybody gets karet as well. And then all the rest here are sreifa, the ones that we are studying in our chapter, with the exception of adultery, which is 8, it's called eshet ish, a woman, a wife of a person. Okay, let me look at the notes. Okay. I did find the Mayem Bam, their blood guilt is upon them, but I don't want to look at it because I want to finish what we need to finish today. If we finish before, then I promise I will look at it. And if not, I will do it, Steve, and I will send you the sources. Okay?
Another question is, how do they determine that blood guilt means stoning?
Okay, excellent. They do it through Exeira Shabbat. And that's what I need to find and show it to you. Because they know that stoning appears specifically in another verse, and in that verse appears the phrase the Mayem Bam, their blood guilt is upon them. So from that Zeira Shabbat they learn that the Mayem Bam is an indication of stoning. They learn the punishment from Zeira Shabbat in a different place. We did that. I don't want to start looking for it now, but I promise I will find it. Let me see if I did find one here, for example. I think it's here in this Steinsaltz. If I can do it without too much Okay. Now listen to me because it's in this book. By the way, if you don't have it, you should get it. I have a few more copies in the shul. This is a reference guide to the Talmud by Steinsaltz. It's a fantastic book that you should have in your home if you're going to study Talmud, okay? Used to be the yellow one. This one replaces it. It is excellent. Okay, but anyway, so I'm going to read Steve for you, okay? Zeira Shabbat.
For everybody, not just for me.
No, just you, Steve. Your matters.
I'm going to read for everybody and Steve, okay? But it's a good point. Point well taken. Okay, we already lost Edna. Please don't leave. A fundamental Talmudic principle of biblical interpretation that appears in all standards list of exegetical principles. If the same word or phrases appears in two places in the Torah and a certain law is explicitly stated in one of these places, one may infer on the basis of verbal analogy that the same law applies in the other cases as well. Consequently, the inferences drawn on the basis of verbal analogy rely on verbal identity rather than on conceptual similarity, as the inductive analogy. For example, the Torah states concerning those convicted of certain types of sorcery, they shall be put to death, they shall stone them with stones, their blood shall be upon them. This is Leviticus 20:27. Since this verse uses the expression, their blood shall be upon them, when referring to death by stoning, the Talmud infers by verbal analogy that in all cases where the expression is used, capital punishment is administered by stoning. Okay, so this is why the blood guilt is upon them is the source for the punishment of stoning. But there are very few verses, so that's what they know. By now, they already take it for granted that you know that sinning with the mother and the stepmother and the daughter-in-law are the 3 cases of stoning. Because if you read here what I just read you in chapter 20, if a man lies with his daughter-in-law, both of them shall be put to death. They shall have committed incest. Their blood guilt is upon them. Their blood is upon them. Okay. If a man lies with his father's wife, it is the nakedness of his father that he has uncovered. The 2 shall be put to death. Their blood guilt is upon them. Okay. So again, this is another example. Okay. If a man lies with a male as one lies with a woman, the 2 of them have done an abhorrent thing, they shall be put to death, their blood guilt is upon them. So this is one punishment. Now, if a man marries a woman and her mother, Isha ubita, that's the famous verse. It is depravity, zima, lewdness. Both he and they shall be put to the fire. So how is a different punishment? So these are, okay. If a man has carnal relations with a beast, or if a woman approaches any beast, they shall be put to death. Their blood guilt is upon them. Okay, so that's how from I'm going to send this back to you again, and I will send not only to you, Steve, but to everybody. I will send the Talmud on Zeira Shabbat. I will do a little on this blood guilt and see how they derive all the cases. And this is my homework to you. I'm going, not homework, this is what I'm going to send to you, okay?
So the primary source is Leviticus, and everything else
Yes.
is extrapolation.
Yes. Only a few verses of Leviticus. And since you are here, I like to remind everybody that Leviticus has 2 sources. One is Leviticus 18, that is all the list of the prohibitions, all the relationships that are forbidden. It's just a prohibition, you shall not do it. And then you have the punishment in Leviticus 20 in a few cases. And what they try to do is to extrapolate the rest of the punishments. This is what the Mishnah and the Gemara are doing. So in order to punish someone, you need to have a verse for the prohibition, and then you need to have a verse for the punishment. For example, the 10 Commandments, it says you shall not murder. But the 10 Commandments, they don't say what is the punishment when someone murders someone. Yes? So we have a prohibition on the 7th day you shall not do work, but we don't know. But we have a different verses in the Torah that tells us what the punishments are for the same things that are listed in the 10 Commandments. Okay, so this is called Azara and Onesh, the warning and the punishment. So Leviticus 18 has all the lists of the warnings, of the prohibitions, and of the Isur in Hebrew, and Leviticus 20 has the punishment for a few cases. And what they are doing here, what we are doing here, is trying to see the extent of these punishments to other cases. Who is included in the few words that are in Leviticus? To how we complete. Imagine that you need to complete basically the little squares, because you have all the cases, but now you are trying to match them, which one goes with what. And that's what we are doing here, okay? But some of them, Steve, we already did, which is the mother, the stepmother, and the daughter-in-law. Everything that was included in stoning, we finished that chapter 7, and now we are on chapter 9, focusing on burning. So we are in the middle of something, but we will finish very soon. Cheryl, so let me just ask you to finish these 2 paragraphs where you stop on page 179.
The Gemara proceeds.
Yes.
The Gemara proceeds to explain why this is not a valid derivation.
No,
According
no,
to-
no. Do the 3rd paragraph. We
Okay.
learn on,
And
yes.
according to the one who says, infer the halacha from it, but interpret the halacha according to its own place, one might infer, just as with regard to his relatives, his daughter-in-law is forbidden to him, so too with regard to her relatives, her daughter-in-law is forbidden to him. And interpret the halacha according to its own place. It is there with regard to his relatives that one who engages in intercourse with his daughter-in-law is executed by stoning, but here with regard to her relatives, one who engages in intercourse with her daughter-in-law is executed by burning. As we found that this is the punishment with regard to one who engages in intercourse with her mother.
In other words, if you say they derive from one thing from the source, but when it comes to the punishment, use its own place, then the problem that we found before doesn't apply here, the inconsistency. But let's see what the problem is, the Gemara.
The Gemara proceeds to explain why this is not a valid derivation. According to the one who says execution by stoning is more severe than execution by burning, the inference can be refuted. What is notable about his relatives? They are notable in that one who engages in intercourse with his mother is liable to be executed by the more severe punishment of stoning. Will you then say that the same is true with regard to her relatives, where one who engages in intercourse with her mother is liable to be executed by the less severe punishment of burning? And furthermore, just as with regard to his relatives, you distinguished between his daughter and his daughter-in-law, and one who engages in intercourse with his daughter is executed by burning, while one who engages in intercourse with his daughter-in-law is executed by stoning. So too, with regard to her relatives, distinguish between her daughter and her daughter-in-law. This is contrary to the parallel drawn between his relatives and her relatives, and the halakha cannot be derived. And according to the one who says that burning is more severe than stoning, although the refutations based on the fact that execution by stoning is more severe and not relevant, due to this latter difficulty, this halakha is not derived.
Okay, because you have an inconsistency also here. Okay, you cannot compare the 2 cases. Okay,
Rabbi,
yes.
maybe we went over this in the past, but how do they determine whether, which of the 2 methods of execution is more severe? For example, I think we learned quite some time ago that when a person is stoned, they're killed first, which means they don't feel any effects of the stoning. Are they also killed before they're burned?
No, they are not. They're being killed. No. And the severity, David, has nothing to do with the what you will call the pain or how you will experience it.
Oh, so the experience of the sufferer, the soon to be.
I mean, it's not. Sometimes has to do an element of shame, which could be bigger in one case than the other, but it's not the way, and I agree with you, the way that I will say is, God forbid, if I were to choose, which one will I? That's what you will say. Which one is the less terrible?
Less severe, yeah.
Less severe in terms of pain. Okay? But this is not the logic of the rabbis. The logic of the rabbis is in this attachment I sent you 2 days ago or yesterday, in which they go and they explain why they consider that 1 is more severe than 2 and then 3 and then 4. Why 2 is more severe than 3 and then 4. They go through everything. And they go through the logic of both methods of the rabbis and Rabbi Shimon. So again, you did learn that, David, but it was a year and a half ago. So I don't expect you to remember that, but it is not a difficult thing and it's worth going through it. I did send it to you in my last email. Okay, this is the beginning of chapter 7. begins 4 types of the death penalty were given over to the court. So they really go through your question, okay?
Okay.
Okay, so thank you, Cheryl. We have one more page to go, and I'm going to ask Judy Samuels if you can please read, okay? This again is another.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm so lost. Where are we? We're on page.
Bottom of page
what?
179.
Okay, throughout it is clear? Is
Yes.
that?
Yes,
Okay. Throughout it is clear from the Gemara that one who engages in intercourse with his daughter is executed by burning. The Gemara asks, with regard to one's daughter born from a woman whom he raped, from where is it derived that she is forbidden to him? The
Okay,
Gemara-
I want to explain a little here. In Hebrew, it's called Bito Me'anusato, which is the translation, a woman from a daughter from a woman that he raped. But the same applies to a woman to a daughter married out of wedlock. Okay, even though it's not the same case in our own mind, for the halacha is going to be the same case. Okay, is a daughter that with whom he doesn't have a daughter that he doesn't have any formal relationship with the mother. That's what it means. So both in the case where he raped the woman or the case where it was out of wedlock, this will apply. Look at the halacha on the top right, Judy, before.
Okay. One's daughter born from a woman whom he raped. If one engaged in licentious intercourse with a woman and fathered her daughter, just like with a daughter born from his wife, intercourse is prohibited with that daughter. Although it is not written explicitly in the Torah, it is derived a fortiori from the prohibition of intercourse with the daughters of his daughter. If one unwittingly engages in intercourse with a daughter that he fathered from his wife, he is liable to bring 2 sin offerings, one for engaging in intercourse with his daughter and one for engaging in intercourse with the daughter of his wife. The halacha, in accordance with the opinion of Abaye, as Rava does not dispute his opinion with regard to the fundamental halacha.
Okay, so they we are going to just to look at the halacha here. Okay, so look at go back to 179. Okay, at the bottom of page 179.
Okay.
Gemara asks.
The Gemara answers or no?
We'll do it one more time. The Gemara asks.
Throughout, it is clear from the Gemara that one engages in intercourse with his daughter is executed by burning. That the Gemara asks, with regard to one's daughter born from a woman whom he raped, from where is it derived that she is forbidden to him? The Gemara answers, doesn't Abaye say that this is an inferred a fortiori? If one is punished for engaging in intercourse with the daughter of his daughter, for engaging in intercourse with his daughter is not all the more so that he is punished?
Because we have a specific prohibition for the daughter of the daughter. So that is how Abaye learns. Okay, Gemara asks.
But does the court administer punishment based on an a fortiori inference without an explicit source?
Okay, that is worth an explanation. We have a klal, a rule, ein onshin min adin. You cannot use logic to create a punishment. So the Gemara is asking, are you telling me that you are going to kill whoever has intercourse with his own daughter because you learn it from logic? This is not a good reason to punish. You can derive using a fortiori for many things, but not for punishment. That is the rule, because they wanted to limit the use of punishment by the logic of the people. So this is the question. It's a good question, and the Gemara is going to reply.
This is a mere disclosure of the matter, not a derivation by means of an inference. Presumably, the punishment administered to one who engages in intercourse with the daughter of his daughter stems from the kinship with his daughter. When the verse states with regard to the daughter of his daughter, for theirs is your own nakedness.
Okay.
His daughter is included.
So what this paragraph is saying is, this is not even a fortiori, it's a very simple thing, that the reason is your own nakedness, and it's just explaining it again, but it's like, it's so obvious that even doesn't need a fortiori that the daughter is included. That's basically what the paragraph is saying. Look at the top note on the left, a mere disclosure of the matter.
This expression appears throughout the Talmud in circumstances where derivations do not correspond to the principle of derivations from the verses. For example, a verbal analogy based on terms that are not superfluous in their context, a punishment derived a fortiori, and matters derived from the prophets of the writings, not from the Torah.
In other words, this answer appears when the answer that are giving is not very convincing to say?
Yeah.
Okay, the Gemara explains.
That in those cases, it is not a full-fledged derivation through which a new halakha is derived. Rather, it is a matter that is implicit in the source, and the Gemara seeks merely to underscore the halakha. In this case, the prohibition against engaging in intercourse with one's daughter is implicit in the prohibition against engaging in intercourse with the daughter of his daughter. The Gemara seeks merely to underscore that prohibition.
But there's no
Basically,
punishment.
what?
No punishment.
The punishment is the same, burning.
Burn.
Burning. Yeah.
What about on page 179 in the Alach, I said something about a sin offering.
Oh, excellent. Very good, Steve. So there are two different scenarios. One when someone does it willingly, and the other when someone does it by mistake. So if someone does it willingly with warning, if someone has any sin, any prohibition unwillingly, that means didn't know that was his daughter, or I cannot imagine what the scenario will be, but a good scenario will be didn't know that was his daughter, for example, and he then finds out later on, he needs to bring a sin offering. Someone works on Shabbat and didn't know that was Shabbat. Yes, he woke up after being, sleeping for 32 hours. He thought that was Thursday, went and lit a fire. And then someone comes and says, it's Shabbos, what are you doing? Oh, I'm sorry. So what that person needs to bring a sin offering when the Beit HaMikdash will be revealed. But if the same sin is done willingly, you can get two scenarios now. One scenario that you have witnesses and all the procedures are in place, so the person is punished to burning. And if not, if all the conditions are not given, is punished by karet, which is a very, very severe punishment, but of a spiritual nature because it cannot be punished by the Beit Din. So what we read before is unwittingly, but here he's talking about, what is the punishment if the conditions for warning and witnesses are given, okay? So the answer here is the daughter is obvious, and now they try to learn on Bitomi Anusato, the daughter from out of wedlock. So please continue. And I tell everybody that the goal for today is the bottom of the page, okay? So this is where we are going. Okay.
Rava says, Rabbi Yitzhak Bar Avdimi said to me that the prohibition of engaging in intercourse with one's daughter, who is not the daughter of his wife, is derived by means of a verbal analogy between the word henna, written with regard to his descendants, the nakedness of your son's daughter or of your daughter's daughter, even their nakedness you shall not uncover for theirs. Henna is your own nakedness.
Okay, so this is the prohibition in Leviticus 18. Remember that we talked Leviticus 18 has a prohibition. This is the prohibition and the word henna is mentioned.
And the
Yes.
word henna, written with regard to the descendants of his wife, you shall not uncover the nakedness of a woman and her daughter. You shall not take her son's daughter or her daughter's daughter to uncover her nakedness. They are near kinswomen. It is lewdness. Then it is derived from a verbal analogy between the word lewdness and the word lewdness in the verse. And if a man takes a woman and her mother, it is lewdness. They shall be burned with fire, both him and them, and there shall be no lewdness among you.
We did this before, but it's another summary of the double Gzeira Shavah, how they connect henna, and zima. They, and lewdness. So they connect the two cases through the word henna and the punishment through the word lewdness. Remember I told you I did the graphic A to B, B to C, A to C. Remember that, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
They found the connection through henna, and they find the connection through lewdness. So they combine the two Gzeirot Shavot, and then they get cover all these cases. We are still in the middle of the discussion, but this is a nice summary because we did this before. Okay. The only part, you look at the verses, Steve, because I say Steve only because you asked the good question. Look at the verses. The only verse that has the punishment is Leviticus 20:14. You see there? And if a man takes a woman and her mother, Isha ubita, it is lewdness, they shall be burned with fire, both him and them. And so here you have the punishment, and you have the word lewdness. Okay, then you have the lewdness before, and then you have henna in both. So you have henna in the first verse and the second. You have the lewdness in the second and the third, and because of the two combinations, you combine the first and the third. Okay, I don't know if I make sense, but we are in the middle of something, but this is a nice summary of something that we did before. Okay, let's continue.
The father of Rabbi Avin teaches, due to the fact that we did not learn a punishment for one who engages in intercourse with his daughter, born from a woman whom he raped from an explicit verse in the Torah, it was necessary for the verse to state, and if the daughter of any priest profanes herself by acting licentiously, it is her father whom she is profaning. She shall be burned with fire. The verse can be interpreted as, and if the daughter of any priest profanes herself by acting licentiously with her father, she shall be burned with fire. The Gemara asks, if so, why not say that just as in the case of the daughter of a priest who commits adultery, she is executed by burning, but her paramour is executed by strangulation, not by burning. So too, in the case of one who engages in intercourse with his daughter, born from a woman whom he raped, she is executed by burning, but her paramour, her father, is executed by other means and not by burning.
Okay, before we come to the challenge on the paragraph you just read, let's just go a paragraph before where it says the father of Rabbi Avin teaches, due to the fact that we did not learn a punishment for one who engaged in intercourse with his daughter from a woman whom he raped, from an explicit verse in the Torah, it was necessary for the verse to state, and if a daughter of any priest profanes herself, that means a daughter of a priest, doesn't matter from which relationship, whom she is profaned, she shall burn with fire. Okay, so from here we learn that any priest, the daughter profanes herself by acting licentiously with her father, profanes her, et avia, with her father. The Hebrew, now I understand. You see, this is what I like about teaching, because I understand it now. The verse says, and if a daughter of any priest profanes herself by acting licentiously, in Hebrew is et avia. Et avia, she profanes her father. But the word et avia, her father she profanes, the word et, aleph taf, is also with in Hebrew. It's another word for with, together with. Okay, now you need to believe me. The word aleph taf, which means in the context of Leviticus, when it talks to the daughter of a priest, it says, she profanes her father, et avia imechalelet. The word et also can be im avia, with her father. So here we learn that from here they learn this is the source for the punishment for her daughter, is what the father of Rabbi Yavin is teaching us. Because we do not have a specific verse for a prohibition for a daughter, or the daughter married out, the daughter out of wedlock. So they use the word et avia. You see et avia in parentheses, with her father. This is the interpretation there. With her father. In Hebrew, the word et, which is usually an indication of a direct object, here is also with. Okay.
Yeah, but who is putting that in? Because it's not in the Hebrew.
Yes, yes.
So who is?
Yes.
Who's putting those words at avia in?
It's in the Hebrew. It's in the Hebrew. It's in the text.
It is?
Yes. Et avia imechalelet ba'esh tisaref.
Okay.
Her father, she profanes, she shall be burned with fire. But the word et avia means also with her father, and that is the interpretation.
Okay.
I try to think of another example. Et in Hebrew, in biblical Hebrew, and even in modern Hebrew in some cases, could mean also with. Okay, so that is the connection with her father. I see your faces. It's difficult, but you need to believe me that the word et means. Let me give an example. Et Elohim italech Noach. Eile toldot Noach. This is the generation of Noach. Noach ish tzadik tamim haya bedorotav. Noach was a righteous person in his generation. Et Elohim italech Noach. Et Elohim, with Elohim Noach walked. Et Elohim, et. Okay? Et Elohim italech Noach. The word et is with. Okay? In biblical, so that's what they learn on it here as well. Okay, now the Gemara is going to ask the question that Judy said. So if you are going to now go to the third paragraph again, Judy, the Gemara asks.
The Gemara asks, if so, why not say that just as in the case of the daughter of a priest who commits adultery, she is executed by burning, but her paramour is executed by strangulation, not by burning. So too, in the case of one who engages in intercourse with his daughter born from a woman whom he raped, she is executed by burning, but her paramour, her father, is executed by other means and not by burning.
And we know that this is not the law. We know that both of them are executed by burning. So the question that the Gemara is asking is a good question. If you are deriving from the case of a daughter of a priest, so derive everything. And we know that in the case of a daughter of the priest, only she is executed by burning, but not the paramour, not the person that she committed adultery with. He is executed by henek, by strangulation, like anybody else who committed adultery. So if you are going to extrapolate from the Gzeira Shavah, use it also that in this case, she is executed by burning, and the father should also be executed by strangulation. But we know that this is not the law. We know that both of them receive burning. So there is a problem here. What is the answer? Okay.
Abaye says that the verse states, it is her father whom she is profaning, from which it is inferred that one who profanes her father by acting licentiously is executed with a court-imposed death penalty different from the death penalty imposed upon her paramour. Excluded from the halakha is this case of a daughter whose father engaged in intercourse with her where it is her father who profanes her.
Okay, so Rabbi says the two cases are not the same. In one case, she is profaning her father, and that's why the punishment is different. In this case, the father is profaning her. And of course, the assumption is that she is, no, even doesn't matter. Even if in a case where she would be raped and she won't be punished, the father will still be punishable for the death penalty. Okay, so this is the first interpretation. Rabbi says, continue the last part.
Granted there, in the case of a daughter of a priest who commits adultery, based on the inference, you excluded the paramour from the punishment of the daughter of a priest execution by burning, and you established his punishment to correspond with the punishment of an adulterous Israelite woman who was executed by strangulation. But here, in the case of one who engages in intercourse with his daughter, to correspond with whose punishment do you establish the father's punishment? The Torah does not state any other form of execution in that case. Will you establish his punishment to correspond with the punishment of an unmarried woman who engages in intercourse, who is not liable to be executed at all? Therefore, there is no alternative to the conclusion that the father too was executed by burning.
Okay, Rabban Gamliel says God has a different answer, and the answer is that it's a logical thing because you cannot compare the father with any other cases, so you are going to compare with the same punishment of the daughter. Okay, so this is where we are going to stop now. Which day is today? The
27th.
And I cannot tell you that it's going to be easier because I haven't studied it yet. But look, just turn the pages, and we are a page and a half from finishing this subject.
Very good. We could
Okay.
stretch that out for 2 hours.
So on page 184, we are going to learn on those who are being killed by decapitation, and then we are going to learn about the murderer. So we are going to finish with these cases, and we have 2 pages more, 3 pages more to go. I will try to get you the inference for next week on the punishment for intercourse with a mother and a daughter-in-law from the expression "the guilt, blood guilt shall be upon them," which is what you ask, Steve. And when I say you, it's not to single out for bad, but for good. Someone who asks good
One
questions.
quick question. Answer is yes or no. There's no prohibition against having intercourse with an aunt or an uncle, and therefore there's no prohibition against having intercourse with a cousin.
Yes. Yes. Are you having any ideas? No, just kidding.
They're all gone, unfortunately.
Yes. No, so
No, I thought you couldn't with an aunt. I thought it was an uncle and a niece, but an aunt and a nephew doesn't work.
I need to look at all the all the situations.
What I don't understand is why should there's no kinship between a man who marries a woman who has had children with a different man, right? I mean, she was married and her husband died, and now another man marries her. The children from that first marriage have no relationship, blood relationship with the new husband. So why is he prohibited from her children?
Why is her mother prohibited from him?
Yeah, right. Well, because there's no blood. Well, there's no blood relationship. They're not really, right? They're not related in any fashion other than
they are her children, her blood children.
They're her children, but that's from a different man. It's not from him.
Yeah, but that's embarrassing the mother.
No, yes, it is. Yes, the prohibition has to do with the fact that he's married to her. What you are asking is, what if he were to divorce this woman, will the children be forbidden? Or the mother or the ex-mother-in-law forbidden? I think the answer is no.
Oh,
Let's
So
not
just-
find out.
There are very few cases that the prohibition is forever, but in most cases is not.
Okay.
Okay, very brave, all of you. I really am I'm proud of myself, by the way. So I guess I am proud of you as well. This is not it's not easy stuff, and we are really cracking this Gemara to the best of our abilities. We have a page and a half to go, and that will include all the cases that are punished by burning, and then we'll go to the fine case of decapitation. Okay.
Okay.
Be
Thanks,
well.
Rabbi. Have a good
Thank
day,
you, Rabbi.
everybody.
Rabbi, take care, everybody.
Bye
take
bye.
care, bye.